We have enough money for that. We can deal with those situations. What we can't deal with are people who are in a mindset of dependency. That is what has to change, and we will.
Next question from the audience.
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Great. It's great to have you here tonight.
Thank you.
My question comes around talking about true independence. And true independence obviously has to do with the economy. It has to do with a form of financial independence, which is very important for our country. Yeah. So, for example, a credit card. That's a very vicious thing to put in the hands of someone who's not educated enough to know how to use it. It puts them into a place of bondage, financial bondage. So what we've seen over the last 12 years is the U.S. government being handed a credit card from the Federal Reserve, right?
I agree with you.
So sound money has gone out the window.
That's right.
Our founders' ideals of sound money is, so where do you stand, and what would you do differently than what's happened in the last 12 years to bring us financial literacy and a sound money solution for the United States so that we can all take our liberty to the next level?
Well, I'm glad that you asked that question. I am on Ron Paul's bill to audit the Federal Reserve, and we have to have that auditing. If there is any entity that needs to have a flashlight shown on it, it is clearly the Federal Reserve. There's a problem. We have had quantitative easing 1, quantitative easing 2, quantitative easing 3. The shorthand way of describing to you what quantitative easing is, a license to print money without any value behind it. And I'm so happy you brought that up, because in the last 2 years of the Obama administration, if you pull $1 out of your pocket, you have lost 14% of the value of that dollar. That means the federal government has stolen that money from you. You made it, and they stole it from you because they've been printing essentially valueless money and flooding it into the money supply. I don't stand for that. $1 in 2011 should be the same as $1 in 1911. It should be, $1 should be worth $1. And unfortunately, it's not. There's several functions that go into that. One is too much overspending by government, and that leads then to the debt. You've heard us have this conversation about raising the debt ceiling. What's raising the debt ceiling mean? It goes to your question of the credit card, because that means we have in the hands of members of Congress almost, well, I guess it is a limited credit card, you might say, but not really. Because what's happened? 10 times in 10 years, Congress has raised the debt ceiling. I have voted against raising the debt ceiling every single time I've been in Congress. And now President Obama wants us to go back to the well and borrow from the Chinese and who knows who else another $2.4 trillion just to get us through next year. We're only going to be worse off than we are right now. We have enough money to pay off our interest on the debt so we don't go into default. Don't listen to the scaremongering that says, oh no, if we don't raise the debt ceiling, we'll go into default. That's not true. Because all that President Obama has to do is direct the Treasury Secretary, Tim Geithner, that's another story, to pay the interest on the debt. Then you keep the full faith and credit of the United States. Let me tell you what Tim Geithner said last Wednesday in the House Small Business Committee. He testified before the committee and he said, government can't shrink. He said, we have to raise taxes on small business about $1 trillion more because government can't shrink. With all due respect, are you kidding me? I mean, this is what passes for economic thinking in Washington, D.C. You know, any parent would recognize if their child was doing that, you'd take that credit card, you'd get out the biggest scissors you'd have, you'd snap that thing in two. They wouldn't be allowed to have it anymore. We take in $2.2 trillion of your money every year and spend every dime of it. The problem is we spent $1.5 trillion more than that $2.2 trillion. And who are we getting in hock to? The Chinese. What did Admiral Mullen, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, say? He said the greatest national security risk to the United States